Honest J Nowak. Oh yeah. A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to HJN. So, yet again, more topics are coming your way, but this one right here is going to be kind of long. So I will pretty much just advise anyone to stick around if possible, and when possible. Because what I got to talk about today, simply put, is art. You're probably going to wonder why this is going to be such a complex subject out there, but that's only because there's a lot I'd have to say about this. Because first of all, art happens to be a pretty big recreational thing that I've done my entire life. My entire life. Especially since day one. Throughout most of my time growing up, especially up until around middle school perhaps, was when I used markers. Markers that were covered in ink, had sponge-like tips at the ends of them, and produced a lot of super smooth drawing and sketching. That was mainly the kind of coloring utensil that I've always used. I was able to get used to others out there, like oil pastels, crayons, colored pencils, and a lot of others out there. But I could say for sure that regular pens and pencils, they probably do just fine on their own. And of course, up until this very point in time, there were certainly a lot of other things that I've gotten used to out there. The usage of drawing on some things out there, including felt, cardstock, actual wood, some other types of papers like loose leaf and copy sheets, and so much more. I mean, there was a lot that I had done out there in terms of how art happens to work out on that part. But I could say for sure that I'm not even close to being done here when it comes to talking about art, so still. Try and stick around if you will. But anyways, some other things about art that I might as well go ahead and mention really quickly is that art itself has been a really complex way of going through life pretty well. Because what I might as well mention really quickly is that the fact that there's a lot that I will indeed mention here. Because first off, a lot of different types of art that I happen to put down would usually include certain interpretations or the likes of which that happen to be of existing arts, just so I could get the bead down on what complex art would be like. Of course, there were times that I have sketched and even drawn out a lot of other people's art online, and of course I'm not actually that good at it, because even to this day, my art does look like something that perhaps a 10-year-old would probably put together at best. But I can say for sure is that the many experiences that I've had with drawing art or whatnot, whether it's with colored pencils, crayons, markers, oil pastels, regular pencils, and pens and the like that I've used over the many, many years I've been alive, there's been a lot of memories I've made in terms of art itself. But aside from art on that behalf, I might as well go ahead and mention a few other things. Other types of art. Art that would also include videography, cinematography, and photography. Yeah. Because if you're not familiar with the app known as Photoshop, then well, let me go ahead and talk about a couple of things about that as well. Photoshop itself, it is certainly a big thing out there in terms of modifying or editing photos in any ways possible. So I could probably assure anyone out there who hasn't actually done a lot on that app itself that I guess you probably should stick around and listen to a few things that I would have to say about that. Photoshop was incredible. Of course, I've never actually purchased my own copy of the app itself. I've just simply used copies of the app that schools had provided for most of us to use. There were Photoshop copies of all sorts available on Mac and PC and the like, and I was able to have access to them almost all the time during high school, especially during the last couple of years. Because after all, I did have a photography class where I got to know a whole lot more about Photoshop and how it works in a much more complex fashion, because I had already gotten used to a few other things about it, even before high school. There was a lot that I had to do about photography, cinematography, and filmography, and I do absolutely well at a lot of things about this. And I could surely tell you right now that the way I happen to edit videos, even to this very day, is still pretty good for many people out there. Even though it may seem very basic at first, you might as well just take a closer look at it. And you'll probably evaluate it as something that's wholly different than others. Very, very wholly different. But in which case I should actually say a couple of other things really quickly. Other than the fact that Photoshop had been around for a long time, let's also talk about Microsoft Office. That was another pretty big way I was able to get some artistic ways together, especially with some Microsoft Office related apps like Word docs, PowerPoint, Excel, and many others out there. Excel was pretty good at making things like lists and designs and many other things out there that happen to relate to most sketching. And Word documents were just simply Word documents. You pretty much had to type up things out there or even put together things out there of many sorts. You could put down collages, reports, or print out copies of any sorts that had anything to do with a lot of different things out there that we commonly use today. And with PowerPoint, that's pretty much where the biggest input of creativity would come into my life. Because I was able to personalize a lot of different things of it to the ways that I would really like it. And I used to create a ton of PowerPoints. At one point, I actually made a PowerPoint about Kaiju Force Neo. Way back in the day. I mean, this was sometime after I had originally founded it. And remember, it was originally known as Wandoff, not Kaiju Force Neo. It's only been known as Kaiju Force Neo for about 12 years, 11. But still, I mean, regardless of how old this whole entire thing has been going around, I mean, having a 15-year-old business like this, with a lot of things out there that happen to be providing some degree of income throughout every month, I mean, I'm just more than beyond proud of myself with the fact that I've come this far, and I'm still going strong at it. I'm creating a lot of things left and right. It's more really just an independent business and whatnot, but still. That doesn't necessarily mean that I won't get people involved in it and whatnot. It just simply points out that I can do a lot on my own, in retrospect to a lot of people having help all over the place. Yet, I know I could just continue on with all this, but still, there's a lot that I would have to say about other stuff out there. So like I said earlier, it would be wise to simply stick around for all this time, because look at how far we come already. We've come at about 8 minutes worth of time here. But still, this isn't over yet. HGN is definitely going to continue building up until the point which 752 episodes in Season 1 is going to be fulfilled, and we'll finally be able to take a long-deserved break from it. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.